question was the original concept created by Logan 30acre as the official SML episode to finally kill off Jeffy from the cast of SML. The reasons for the specific creation of Logan has still yet to be actually confirmed. However, various theories and myths from fans and others alike have suggested that this video was created as a way to try and take away the negativity that the channel was producing when Jeffy was dominating the platform. Others have also speculated that Logan was on the verge of a full-on breakdown, and that killing off Jeffy would have been the final resort to try and quell the constant stress of having to create newer episodes dedicated to Jeffy nearly every single week or so. While a specific minority of fans have theorized that this video was created as a way to just completely end off SML entirely. Regardless of what theory they believe at the time, and what is still believed, one thing can be proven. SML was going down a really bad slope, and they were going down at a fast rate. Many people and fans were unsubscribing, fans of the series had become rather unfortunate cyberbullies, harassers, and doxers, and the channel itself proceeded to focus away from the other characters used in the series for the sole purpose of using Jeffy as a money-making cash grab. And of course, the threats of demonetization from YouTube being permanent continuously lingered above the channel at a rather high rate. These things only continued to further cement the fear of the channel going under the platform. So, in a desperate attempt to alleviate the pain, Logan cast, edited, and created the final SML movie, a short one, in regards to Jeffy entitled, as such, Jeffy's Final Video. This video, while not viewed by many people when first released on Logan's Patreon page, due to Logan quickly deleting it due to Backlash, one user on Reddit had managed to describe the episode in his own way about what he had seen. This is what he had seen. The beginning of the SML video would start off with Jeffy in his room, playing on his cap piano in a rather annoying fashion for a few minutes, before Mario would then burst into the room and demand that Jeffy would stop his racket. Jeffy, being the brat that he was, refused to do so, and then would throw the piano at Mario, striking him on the face and sending him down to the floor, groaning in pain. Jeffy would simply laugh at this event, and would then go make his way over towards where his iPad was at and begin watching videos of Hop Hop. Mario soon winds up getting up from where he was knocked down from, and then angrily proceeded to take the iPad away from Jeffy. This causes Jeffy to scream out in aggravation and then proceed to throw a meltdown, before Mario ran out of the room in fear of what Jeffy was doing, leaving the iPad behind him to try and calm Jeffy down. As Mario makes his way down the stairs, he's greeted by Chef Peepee, who simply asked Mario about what was going on upstairs and that he was having trouble focusing on cooking lunch for everyone. Mario apologized for the noise and then started to go on a banter about Jeffy and how he was particularly sick of dealing with the tantrums, the meltdowns, and ultimately just Jeffy in general. Chef Peepee then places his hand on his chin in contemplation for a bit, before suggesting to Mario that Jeffy might need to see a mental health professional. Mario asked him why he would need to do that, to which Chef Peepee would begin to mention that Jeffy might be acting like this because he might be on the spectrum. With that said, Mario seemed to be taken aback a bit by what Chef Peepee was trying to say. But after a bit of thinking himself, and with small little flashbacks, more or less playing over the clip of showing Jeffy's rather unfortunate, actions, he ultimately wound up agreeing that it wouldn't be a particularly bad idea to do such, and if anything, it would at least give him a reason why Jeffy acted the way that he did. The Redditor of this post then proceeded to explain that he had a rather nervous feeling about Logan going into a rather sensitive topic such as autism spectrum disorder, given the fact that Logan really didn't have much sense of, sensitivity about rather controversial subjects in the past. So this one only seemed to be something that he knew would likely fuel more hatred to Logan's channel than what was already given. Once Chef Peepee and Mario were finished with their conversation, Mario then proceeded to go to where Rosalina was at, and then proceeded to tell her the same thing that Chef Peepee had suggested to him earlier in the episode. At first, Rosalina seemed rather offended that Mario would make such a bold statement like that about Jeffy, but after a quick explanation, followed by Mario pointing out the possible evidence for such of Jeffy being on the spectrum, Rosalina agreed and they proceeded to set something up online. While they were both off screen at this point and began making their arrangements, across the hallway, Junior, Cody, and Joseph were eavesdropping in on the whole conversation. The three boys then proceeded to make some rather cruel and degrading remarks about Jeffy and the possibility of him having autism. Joseph himself, completely more or less out of character, depending on which episode you watch, even went so far to trying to impersonate somebody with autism in the most stereotypical way possible, jittering, doing a bunch of other stuff, and just having like a fake meltdown, while the two of them only continued to edge him on as he did such. Likely chances this is probably one of the main reasons why the video had gotten the backlash that it did at the time. Whether this was all intentional or not was anybody's guess at this point. The episode would then proceed to cut to Chef Pee Pee walking in on Junior and the others doing what they were doing, and he then proceeded to scold them greatly for their actions, pretty much explaining to them that what they were doing was wrong and that they shouldn't make fun of people like that. Junior tries to explain himself and says that they were just, acting stupid and acting funny, but Chef Pee Pee hears none of this and then proceeds to send the three of them all out in the backyard as a punishment before lunch was finished. The scene would then cut to show Mario and Rosalina showing a compilation of Jeffy's outburst on an iPad, while a professional-looking female puppet watched intently. Once the video concluded, the woman, specifically the psychologist herself, immediately began to write a few things down on the clipboard before finally telling Rosalina and Mario that Jeffy was most certainly on the higher end of the spectrum. While not entirely severe, as she said, it was still way too high up, and the fact that Jeffy himself would not likely be able to live a proper life, he would be needed to be brought into a home as early as possible to try and do what they could to control his actions as best as they could. Now, Mario seemed a little bit suspicious at the whole thing, as it seemed as though the psychologist, or at least as he thought, was trying to make it seem as though that she was wanting to try and cure Jeffy of this kind of thing. Mario himself even wound up trying to make a couple of, basically trying to say that what exactly she was trying to say. Saying that even if Jeffy was on the spectrum, which it was a possibility that he was, there was no way that he'd be able to actually he would not be able to sit there and cure it, as she was apparently trying to say. However, the psychologist herself said that it was pretty much the only way, otherwise that Jeffy would probably be living in a terrible kind of life. And that they wanted nothing else more but to make Jeffy, quote-unquote, well again, in her own words. Rosalina simply agreed with it, much to Mario's dismay, and of course, with that, Rosalina had wound up signing up the papers for Jeffy, so that way the entire thing could start up immediately. Mario, of course, didn't really want to do this, but was ultimately pressured into doing so by Rosalina. And of course, after that, they wind up going back to their home, with the psychologist driving behind them in a large van, in order for them to go and wind up taking Jeffy away. Well, upon arrival at the place, Mario and Rosalina then called Jeffy down in the living room, which he does with as much sass and the usual annoyance that he usually has, and of course, just basically acting the way that he did. However, after a bit of coercion from Mario, he finally comes down the stairs, and Jeffy was immediately met with the psychologist, who immediately introduced herself to Jeffy, to which, Jeffy did pretty much the same. However, Rosalina and Mario then proceeded to make Jeffy sit down on the couch, and the news was quickly broken to him about what exactly was going on, what they had done, and the fact that Jeffy was basically going to be staying at a home for people like him for a little bit, so that way he could be, dealt with properly. This obviously freaks Jeffy out, but it doesn't exactly take long until he winds up moping up the stairs for a bit, and then gathering up his things after he, Mario, and Rosalina wind up having a really big argument. Once he comes down the stairs for the final time with the bag in his hand, both Mario and Rosalina make their way over to Jeffy and then say their goodbyes to him. Before he led to before he was led to a large van by the psychologist herself and placed into the passenger seat of it. Once the worker makes her way into the car, she drives away without a single word. The final thing that is shown before the scene cuts to the question of the day was the logo for Autism Speaks being on the back of the van. The question of the day was, what would you have done if you were in Mario's situation? The Redditor then finalizes his story with a message about how the episode was awful, and how much he absolutely hated it when he first saw it, and that the very nature of it was pretty much a huge punch in the face for people who suffered through autism, to which the Redditor himself actually said that he himself was on the spectrum as well. He then proceeded to give his final thoughts about it, tell Logan, in a sense, that he's a fucking idiot for what he did, and then proceeded to end the post right then and there without a single word. Now, any kind of attempt of trying to find this post again would likely be rather difficult, as it seemed to have been buried and then lost in a sea of subreddits and other posts that were created. However, even if it was happen to be found again, it's very unlikely that the Redditor has any evidence of the episode's existence. Believe what you want with this episode, because the chances of it ever being released to the public for the second time is likely to never happen again, whether it be through Logan or whether it be through an outside source. But one thing is for sure, it's a good thing that this episode was not actually released, as it probably would have done a lot more to Logan in a negative way than it would have done positive.
In fear and surprise, as your eyes widen, your mouth goes dry with each battered breath. You try to scream, your mind begs to leave, glued to your computer screen. The killers they slash, the tapes burn and crash. The cartridge you bought will be your final haunt. The rituals of hate will seal your fate. The tears you shed will be from the fear-gripping horror-driven nightmarish gore-filled, terrorizing, hateful, burning, violent, rage-inducing, knife-slashing, blood-splattering, silent screams. Only time will tell if you will escape this online hell. Your horror-filled obsessions will come with its own regressions. Your pathetic screams will not be heeded in any way, because your nightmares will come at any day.